To our newsroom right now. This is the Embassy of India in Kiev has issued an advisory. General Bakshi is joining us on the broadcast. General Bakshi, the Indian Embassy in Kiev has just sent out a message to all Indians in Ukraine saying the present situation in Ukraine is highly uncertain. Please maintain calm, remain safe wherever you are, be it in your homes, hostels, accommodations or in transit. All those who are traveling to Kiev, including those traveling from western parts of Kiev, advised to return to their respective cities temporarily, especially towards safer places along the western bordering countries. Further advisories will be issued for any updates. General Bakshi, what would your advice be to these students, and how do you see the situation unfold? Government and the embassy has given out an advisory. How do you see the situation unfold? General Bakshi.
Look, what I am trying to say is that this morning Russian President Putin made a declaration of war. He stated clearly that he was calling upon the Ukrainian forces to surrender, and then that is why otherwise in the military playbook, after you made a declaration of war, your missile strikes, Iskander missile strikes, your fighter bomber strikes, your suppressive artillery fires start to suppress adversaries' air defenses and anti-tank guided missiles, as also any UAVs that he may send up. But we did not find that, because President Putin apparently had asked them to surrender, and they were waiting if they would. If they would not, most of our cameras were focused on the built-up areas. But that is not where the main strikes will come. The strikes will come on the Ukrainian air bases, naval bases, military bases, installations. That is where the Russians say they are focusing their strikes on, and they were also waiting for them to first surrender so that a bloodbath could be avoided. Very massive casualties could be avoided on both sides. But now if they do not surrender, well, then the Russians are quite clear that they will go ahead. Yesterday I had put out this entire war game which we have done at the Indian Military Review, where we had clearly forecasted that he was likely, he had three options: repeat Georgia in just the Donbass, going for a limited war options, that means go for Kharkiv, the former capital city of Ukraine, go for Mariupol, port of Mariupol, go for the port of Odessa, cut off the entire Ukrainian coastline, make Ukraine a landlocked country. That was the limited option. The full-scale option was go for Kyiv. Go for Kyiv, that is the key command and control center. Go for Kharkiv, go for Donbass, go for Mariupol, and Odessa, also attack from Crimea. That is the full-scale option. From what Putin has announced, it looks like the full-scale option, because as it is, all that the NATO and the West, as they had declared they would do against him, was sanctions. And he is prepared to take those sanctions. He is not deterred by the sanctions. Therefore, it is now Ukraine left all to itself, much like the Abdul Ghani, the Afghan president, was in the face of the Taliban. I mean, he has been ditched totally, because just sending in some anti-tank guided missiles and sending in, some surface-to-air shoulder-fired Stinger missile, that will only prolong the agony. It will not change the outcome. The outcome is more or less decided, because Russia felt it had major strategic stakes involved, and because of those strategic stakes, Russia is prepared to go all out, because it feels thus far and no further. It feels that NATO has been constantly pushing it in its period of economic and military weakness. Now that it has stabilized, it feels its economy built up sufficient foreign exchange reserves, and it has tied up with the Chinese to face American and NATO sanctions. It is now militarily strong enough to make mincemeat out of Ukraine, and it will get no opposition from either NATO or from the United States, who have said clearly who have clearly said to avoid any escalation, any breakdown of escalation control, any escalation to the nuclear level, they have said, we will not be putting boots on the ground in Ukraine. So if you are not putting boots on the ground in Ukraine, well, it is only the Ukrainians left to themselves. How far they can resist is only a matter of time. And therefore, Putin very confidently this morning, he announced, I'm giving you a chance to surrender, just leave your weapons, go away to your homes, nothing will happen to you. Don't forget, this is what had happened to the Republican guards in Iraq. You know, the CIA had purchased their generals and they had been told quietly, go